everybody. I am Beth Massey. I am a product manager on the .NET MAUI team, and I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Ilan Lipton, and I'm a software engineer on the .NET MAUI team.
And today we're going to talk to you about how to build hybrid apps with .NET MAUI and Blazor and some other things today. So, John, get your titles correct. Okay, so first, I just want to say that across Microsoft, we invest in a lot of different client technologies for you to build custom client native experiences as well as web experiences, okay? From Windows native with WinUI 3, for example, cross-platform with .NET MAUI, hybrid apps, which we're going to talk about today with Blazor Hybrid, as well as things like Blazor Web, okay? Why would you choose some of these different types of clients to build? There's a lot of different benefits of these types of clients. For Windows native, that gives you the deepest native experiences on the Windows operating system. For cross-platform native, you get to write once, but you can run on multiple devices. So that saves you a lot of time and energy in learning different device platforms sometimes. So you can target multiple things with one code base. Or you can take a hybrid approach where you can target these native devices with one code base, but your UI is web UI. And that allows you to then reuse the UI across the native devices as well as web applications. And then, of course, there's a lot of web frameworks that you can use to have maximum reach across any web browser in the world. All right, so for .NET developers, you do have choices for different types of apps you want to build. On one side, we have Blazor, and you probably learned a lot about that today. Dan Roth had a session earlier that was pretty amazing. Blazor lets you build interactive websites with C#. Then there's .NET MAUI, and Dave and Rachel probably talked to you a lot about that today. And .NET MAUI allows you to create native apps for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android with a single code base. But it's a sliding scale, so you can choose the technologies that are right fit for you. There's a hybrid approach where you take the best of MAUI and the best of Blazor together, and you can create hybrid applications that also allow you to reuse your web UI on the web too. And that's what we're going to talk about today. All right, so what are hybrid apps exactly and why build them? There's a lot of different reasons why you want to build a hybrid application. Like we mentioned, it's a blend of native and web technology. So the UI is written using the web technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Blazor, and it's wrapped in that native app container. You have access, in that case, that means you have access to those native platform features and device hardware. So you can leverage the device-specific things you need that are sometimes really hard to do on a web application, or they're not even possible at all. And the hybrid applications can be mobile or desktop apps, okay? So they can run on multiple device platforms. And then that means you don't have to have the need for completely separate development. This allows you to take web applications that you may have already and reach them via the mobile app stores, for instance. So you want to have wider distribution of your application, for instance. And then one of the biggest benefits we see a lot of customers, it's really about code reuse across these device platforms and web at the same time. So you can deploy, day zero, you can deploy new updates to your app across all the device platforms as well as the web. And that saves you a lot of time, it saves you a lot of development resources, and it gets you to market faster, okay? All right, so what's .NET MAUI Blazor Hybrid? All right, so really it's about embedding a .NET Razor components via a Blazor WebView control that sits inside of the .NET MAUI platform. .NET MAUI really gives you that device abstraction layer, like it abstracts, gives you access to a lot of APIs, a solid API that abstracts a lot of the different things that a device would do, like take photos or rotation or swipe or contacts or Bluetooth, things like this. Then, basically all those assets, those Blazor assets are packaged with the app. So no internet is actually required. The UI is packaged with the app. You also have access to all the awesome Blazor built-in components that you might be used to if you're a Blazor developer, like input controls and validation and forms and auth. But you use the MAUI abstraction layer to get at the multi-platform. So you write once and you can target multiple devices. And then we have a new solution template, which we'll show you today, that allows you to reuse the web UI across the native and the web applications. Okay.
Actually, can I ask you just one question, Beth?
Yeah.
I want to double check this. This is not a .NET MAUI application that's just running a web server over Wi-Fi.
Right.
Everything is packaged and located inside the package that's installed on the machine, on your iPhone or Android.
Exactly.
So I can unplug the Wi-Fi, but the app is still there.
Exactly. So you can
Perfect.
think if when you say web, it is sort of weird things come to mind, like I need an internet connection. But really, you can think about it as like if I was writing like just native controls in a MAUI app, you wouldn't expect me to get them over the internet either. Those things are packaged and compiled with the application, and that's exactly the same thing too. It is packaged with the application itself. Also, you can connect to the internet to do other things if you need to.
That's really
all right. All right, so a lot of times people are wondering what approach is best for me. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons why you would use web UI versus native UI, and a lot of times native UI might be a better approach for the app that you're trying to build. So web UI typically looks the same across devices, and the way you control that is with CSS. While native UI, especially on the MAUI stack, by default gives you device-specific look and feel. Okay, that might be important to you. The user experience sometimes with native UI can afford more seamless user experiences, like Android looks like Android, iOS looks like iOS. That might be important for your application. But for a web UI, code reuse is really one of the biggest benefits. So you can really reuse your code, and you may already have existing web UI that you're using for a web application, and you want to use that in a native app. And then sometimes it really just comes down to the skill set. Web UI requires knowledge of HTML and JavaScript and CSS, while native UI, particularly on the Microsoft stack, requires knowledge of XAML. So it's just pick your poison. All right, so one of the customers that we recently ran into has an amazing application, MyRide K12 by Tyler Technologies. It allows parents to track where their students, where their children are, the students, on buses to and from school. They have over 2,500 schools that use this application across the United States and Canada. They have a ton of downloads on the app stores. What was really interesting about this team is a very small team of like 3 engineers that are able to provide updates to their web application and their mobile applications at the same time. It allows their QA people to test one UI, and that has 99% of the same UI across the board. And it really was an overwhelming success for them. So we're actually seeing a lot more of these customers come to us and say how amazing that the time to market really saved them. Okay.
And I remember in the conversation with them, they asked us what we thought of what they were able to do with sharing UI. And I told them that I was just beaming the whole time because they exactly did what we wanted Blazor Hybrid sharing UI between web and multiple platforms to do. And so we were extremely happy that they were able to achieve, with a very small team, exactly what we want Blazor Hybrid to deliver. So it was great to hear that.
That's exactly why we build this stuff. It's very cool. All right, next. Okay, cool. There we go. There we go. All right, so how do they do this? Okay, so at a very high level, the architecture is like this. There's, at the core, shared Razor class libraries that have the web UI that you want to share between your web application and your native app. Okay, so in this case, it's any of the Razor components themselves and any interfaces that you're using in your UI to services. You may have different implementations for a service depending on where you're rendering it, whether it's the web or whether it's a native device. And we'll show you some examples of that today. Now, you can do this today with .NET 8. In just a couple hours, you can follow 24 steps to glue this all together. Okay, you create a MAUI app, you create a Blazor web app, you create a component library, you hook it all up together. You could read the docs, but we actually made this a lot simpler for you in .NET 9, and so
it's 23 steps now.
No,
okay, just checking.
It's 1 or 2.
It's one,
I don't know.
steps.
Why don't we get to a demo? Let's get to a demo and try it out. All right, so here we go. Visual Studio. All right, so I'm just going to create a new project in Visual Studio. I've already got Blazor Hybrid here selected as the type. Now, this is the template that we had already, the .NET MAUI Blazor Hybrid app that just creates a single project for you, the hybrid project. But we also now have a solution template here that's the .NET MAUI Blazor Hybrid and Web template, okay? Now, I'm going to create this one here, so check it out. I'll just name it whatever. Now, the only question it asks you is on the web app, what type of render mode would you like? Okay, so depending on what you pick, it either creates 3 or 4 projects for you and glues them together. So server is 3, WebAssembly and auto create 4. So you have the WebAssembly I'm going to include the sample pages in this case because we're going to actually walk through them. All right, so what Visual Studio is doing right now is it's creating all those projects. It's creating a Blazor class library project that has all of the UI. The sample code is all the UI, the familiar counter page and that kind of thing. So I don't know why the error list keeps coming up, so let's close that thing. All right, so here are the projects. This is the MAUI app. This is the shared Blazor class library. This is the Blazor server and then the Blazor client, okay? And what it's done is it's hooked it all together, all right? So you'll see all the layout and the pages here. This is all the UI here in the shared, okay? And then the project references are to the web and the native MAUI app. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to run this. So I'm just going to configure multiple startup projects so we can see the MAUI app run. In this case, I'll just deploy to Windows, and then we'll create, this is the one I want here. We'll just start that without debugging. It's fine. Okay, so while this fires up, let's walk through a couple of these things. Okay, so here's the MAUI hybrid app. Okay, you'll notice if you're a Blazor developer, we have a dub root folders here. Those you should be familiar with. Your static assets go in there. You have components. If you're a MAUI developer, you have your platforms. You have all your device-specific code goes in here. And it looks like it's firing up pretty quickly. So let's take a look at what this app looks like. It should look familiar. Here it is running on Windows. So you'll see Hello World. It's got the counter page. It's interactive because everything on a hybrid app is interactive by default. You'll see here's the web application, same thing. We had auto interactivity, the weather page. You'll notice that the home page actually is displaying where it's coming from, what the device is you're running on, and the platform. Okay. In the case of the desktop app, it's running on desktop and WinUI. In the case of the server app, it's running on my Surface here. And we also did interactive auto. So if I refresh it now, it's running on WebAssembly. All right. So let's take a little tour of this code. All right. So how do we do that? So first thing, in the MAUI application, we're going to go to the main page. What you're going to see is this Blazor WebView we were talking about. This is the control that hosts all of our content, okay? This right here is the shared roots. So up here, we have the assembly that we're referring to is the shared. Okay, that has all of our UI. And it basically is going to render all of our content through here. Now, technically, we could put some native controls in here too if we wanted to use MAUI native controls. And he's going to show you a little bit how to do that later. But here's how it all is rendering. Now, with the homepage, we saw this form factor, right? And what it's doing is it's doing this interface service injection, right? Because we need to provide a different implementation for web and for the native devices, what we did is we just created a little example of form factor. Okay, so iForm factor is here in the Blazor class library, and it just has these two interfaces here. And we're using them on the home page. But the implementations, when we go over to, say, MAUI, and I don't know why I'm getting that, but that's okay, is right here, form factor. Okay, so this is the form factor implementation, and we're injecting that right into the builder. And then similarly with the web app, same thing. If we go over to Program CS, you'll see right there's form factor. If you see the implementations of them, then on the web, it just returns web, and it returns the environment OS version. And on the MAUI side, it uses the MAUI abstraction layer, device info, idiom. It's I don't know, coming through, not available. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. Well, I guess we released today, and maybe that's what happened.
It could be. Yeah.
It did run.
The latest RC build. So
the latest RC build.
Bonus surprise.
Okay. Let's switch over to a Meteor application. Okay, that got us started. But
that was just the default.
That's just the default template.
With one click.
This is one click, and you can get all of that, right? Okay, so what I want to show you here is not only can you inject services for different functionality, you don't have to have the same UI, because a lot of times your mobile apps and your desktop apps, whether that's a web app or a desktop app, a device app, need different UI.
Narrow
right?
or wide or.
We're talking about a lot of different UI idioms that are different, right? So here's an application I call Honeydew. It's an application that I wrote for my husband, who needs to do a lot of things around the house. So it's sort of like a to-do app. Okay, it's a glorified to-do app. Let's go ahead and run this. I'm also going to start both the Windows and the web. we're just going to take a look at this. Now, you'll see there's a couple tasks that need to be done today. This is the web application, and you can see all tasks. You can show completed tasks. This is using the Blazor Quick Grid that came out last year with .NET 8. I also have the Windows app running, and you'll see it's got pictures this time though. So it's got a little bit of a different UI. It's still using the quick grid, but we actually have some pictures here that we're also showing. So when we edit, fix the car, you can actually pick a photo. And this is using the MAUI abstraction layer to go ahead and pick photos from your operating system. That's fine. Okay, so I also have a little phone down here. Let me run this guy again. Looks like it quit. Let's go. All right, so I have a phone. I have an Android device, so I'm going to go ahead and launch this on the phone. Now, you'll notice that this uses like more of a card view, okay? So you're scrolling this direction, because a grid does not make sense on a phone, right? All right, so let's also take a look at the add task. Let's see, we're going to need to clean the studio, because I have to say, it's kind of a mess. But we'll do that tomorrow.
It's not actually a mess here. Just respect to the folks who run this. It's just for the sake of the demo. We're just saying it's messy.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a photo, and you'll notice that now I'm going to take a picture. This is actually what our studio looks like, okay? And there you go. Now we've got the task, and now it looks like studio. So we could save that, and now we will see that we need to clean the studio tomorrow. Now this is all a little bit different. It's all a little bit different UI, okay, for all of this stuff. So where's my clean studio? Is around here somewhere. There it is right here, okay? So this all looks a little bit different depending on whether we're running the web, whether we're running on a desktop or a native desktop, or whether we're running on the phone. Okay, so let's walk through how do we do that? Okay, so we can do multi-targeting. We can do multi-targeting just like MAUI does multi-targeting, but we can do that in our Razor class library. So you'll see I'm just using some compiler directives. I'm saying if I'm Android or iOS, show the card view, and otherwise show the grid. And then in the edit, we also are doing similar. Okay, so don't even show this table at all if I'm on the web. Otherwise, I'll show the take photo button if I'm on a phone. And I'm using the interface injection pattern to do this photo manager, okay? And the photo manager has our implementation of it on the MAUI side is using the media picker API, okay? That allows us to pick photos from the operating system itself, from the file system, or you can also take the photos, okay? Capture photos.
And that's one of the benefits of .NET MAUI and the integration is that API is built in, and you get that cross-platform experience.
Exactly.
With one API
Exactly. So you use MAUI to target the 4 platforms, and then you might need to do something different for web. Okay, use like the file uploader in that case, or something like that, right? Okay, the way that we create this multi-targeted Razor class libraries, we go just like in MAUI, it has target frameworks where you can target which of the operating systems you want to target. In this case, I'm saying .NET 9, that's the web, Android, iOS, Mac Catalyst, or if we're on Windows, build for Windows. And so that enables us to build different versions of our shared class library. And and that's kind of just another way to kind of create UI that needs to target multiple devices, and an easy way to do it, I think.
I have an unscripted question. I told you I'd tell you an unscripted question. Is I saw that one thing that doesn't seem to change between the different platforms, whether it's web or Android or Windows, is all the tasks are assigned to Nick. Is that hard-coded? Or can that be platform dependent?
That was hard-coded. Yeah,
I mean, that's what I thought.
I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but my husband did actually enter all the data on the mobile device, and actually real things he needs to get done. So,
fair enough.
Babe, if you're watching me, I love you. All right. So let's go ahead and flip back over to our slides here. All right. Okay. So there's that. So. .NET 9, as you saw, released, and it now has the solution template available. So the idea here is like easy way to get started to reuse your UI across MAUI native and Blazor web applications. Use interface injection to support the different hosting models that you need, like I showed, and then use multi-targeting to create UI for different platforms. Now, if you go to AKMS, MAUI, Blazor Web, that takes you to the documentation that if you still want to use .NET 8, you can set it up yourself. And if you're in .NET 9, it shows you how to use the template, okay? And if you don't have Visual Studio, you don't want a Visual Studio, you want a command line, it's just called MAUI Blazor Web is the name of the template in the .NET MAUI workload. All right, so MAUI hybrid apps in .NET 9. Hybrid apps with Blazor are hotter than ever. They're hotter and better and,
Blazing.
great. Blazing hot, yeah. Inner loop, we did a lot of inner loop and hot reload improvements, a lot of bug fixes. The .NET MAUI extension for VS Code also supports hybrid and web development. And then we've also enabled other types of JavaScript front ends to come through into MAUI. And Alon, that's your baby. You want to talk a little bit about that? Yeah.
Yeah. So everything that Beth showed is something that we started shipping back since the first version of .NET MAUI, .NET MAUI 6. We made improvements to the integration of Blazor Web UI into .NET MAUI. And starting with .NET 9, as of today, this morning, we also have a new control called the HybridWebView that lets you host arbitrary JavaScript web-based applications inside .NET MAUI. And you get all the same types of advantages, such as shared UI. You get to reuse your skills, your knowledge, all that CSS that you've been crafting so much effort putting into that, and host it and gain the advantages of cross-platform MAUI. So regardless of what your app is built with, you can host it inside .NET MAUI. And that's what we'll see in a demo in just a second. But in the meantime, everything you see on the left is what Beth showed with Blazor, and you get all the same advantages. The whole stack, except for just a little Blazor bit at the top, is exactly the same. And with Hybrid WebView, it will host your content inside a WebView, just like Blazor WebView does. And you get that in Hybrid WebView. And you also get to interoperate between C# and JavaScript by sending messages and invoking methods. And we'll see that in the demo. So here on my laptop, I've got this demo. Perfect. All right. Now, I'm using a Mac, and I've got Visual Studio Code with the .NET MAUI dev kit, and we'll have a link to this app later. First, let me show this app, and so we see what we're talking about. I've got it already running inside the emulator. I published it earlier. And the top bit with the light background and the very bottom bit here with the tabs, that's .NET MAUI native UI. Those are native controls. This middle part here with the dark salmon color is web UI, yet when I click here on the HTML button, I can send messages to the top, to the .NET MAUI, and I can send messages the other way from C# over to JavaScript. Well, how do we do that? This is a regular .NET MAUI application. There's nothing that special about how it's structured, but inside the main page.xaml, instead of Blazor WebView control, I've got a few native controls, which you can always use in any .NET MAUI application. And then down at the bottom, we've got this new Hybrid WebView control. And the only thing you have to tell it is, where's the content? Where's the root of the hybrid application? Let's take a look at the hybrid sample page. So inside the resources, raw, hybrid sample page folder, you've got exactly the things you expect in any web application, an index.html, and in this case, it is referencing one special thing, which is this new HybridWebView.js file that's also included here. Now, this is a standard file you include in any .NET MAUI Hybrid WebView application. It's got the functionality to wire up the JavaScript and .NET sides of things. And you can receive and send raw messages. So that's what this event hookup is. And you can also invoke methods. So let's take a look at the C# side of things. Back into the code behind of the XAML file. You can send messages from C# back to JavaScript, or you can even invoke a method. So on the Hybrid Web, you can say, invoke this JavaScript method from C# and get the return value back. And you can pass in parameters, you can run async methods. It's just the regular type of experience, except you're interoperating between C# and JavaScript. Now, that was a pretty basic sample, but what if we want to do something a little bit more advanced?
Like a to-do app?
Like a to-do app, exactly. It's all to-do. So let's go ahead and run this, and this time I'm going to run it on my Mac. Now, to build this to-do application, I didn't want to start from scratch. I wanted to do exactly what we promised you could do, which is take an existing application. In this case, it's a React-based to-do application, which I didn't write it. I just did an online search, find me a React application for to-do, and I forked the repo so I could clone it and make just a few small tweaks so that it could interop with .NET MAUI. So at the bottom of this same app that we saw earlier in the iPhone simulator, I can click this React tab, and now we have, this is a React-based application, but running inside of .NET MAUI. So let's go ahead and set a breakpoint to show you how the two can interop. So I'll set a breakpoint here. So every time data changes in this application, so I'll say do demo, hit the add button, but now, even though that button was a React button in JavaScript running inside a WebView, it's calling into this C# method. And in fact, if I expand this tasks list here, we'll see that the do demo task, make it a little wider, do demo task is right there. So we don't need the breakpoint anymore. Now, how did I wire that up? Let's quickly switch over to this React application. It's a basic to-do application that I downloaded, and the only changes that I made, if I look at what the diff is between my fork and the original application, and thank you to I Am Spruce, somebody I've not met before. I just found this application. All I did as far as HybridWebView is I included HybridWebView.js, and the original application, that's a standard file, the original application used browser local storage to read and write everything. So we can see that down here, local storage, it would read and write the items. The only difference is that I'm instead saying, hey, HybridWebView, load the to-do items, or hey, HybridWebView, I want you to save the to-do items. And that's how I interoperate between JavaScript and C#.
That's awesome.
And I think that wraps it up for that demo. So back to Beth's screen.
That's cool. Awesome. So in summary, we just want to let everybody know that hybrid apps are really a great way for you as web developers that really need native platform capabilities and maybe App Store distribution to go ahead and do that. You reuse your web UI across native apps and web apps, and you use component libraries and interfaces in the case of Blazor to provide different implementations depending on where you're running. Use the MAUI abstraction layer for multi-platform and multi-targeting, and and have an awesome time doing that, I guess. Here are the resources. I guess we're a little bit over time, and are you okay? All right, cool. So check out the demos, Honeydew and Hybrid MAUI app. Hybrid MAUI app's what Alon showed, Honeydew is what I'd show, and let us know if you have any questions. We're around.